You are about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show, 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I'm a huge fan of Celine Dion, and watching her career and going to her shows and then seeing how this chapter of her life has unfolded. It's been very painful to see her go through what she's going through, and a testament to her character. She has opened up to talk to us about some very, very intimate details of what she had gone through with her diagnosis of stiff person syndrome, and actually has revealed that she was on 90 milligrams of Valium a day to help maintain her symptoms, which to me means, one, her life was at risk because that puts her at risk for overdose, let alone the risk that you could endure when you withdraw. But also it shows how debilitating her symptoms must have been for her to require that type of amount of a benzodiazepine. And so you will see headlines of Celine Dion speaking about these 90 milligrams of Valium. And God bless her for being open about, her struggles. I don't want people to misinterpret, but we've spoken about benzodiazepines, which is the class of medicine that Valium is in, sharing that class with Xanax, Klonopin, Ativan. And we have a benzodiazepine epidemic. We have a dependence on it. And people have been turning to that because they can't get pain medication, because they are struggling with mental health issues or physical issues. And the benzodiazepine class, even though it is still highly regulated, has not had as much of the attention and restrictions as narcotics have. And so many people have been going to the benzodiazepines to deal with their symptoms. And sadly, that could put you at risk as well. So with Celine Dion, apparently I think she has a documentary that's going to air later this month. Let me see if I have information on that. And I apologize. It's called Celine's Story. And I believe this is going to be coming out later this month, where she talks about what she has gone through. And we spoke a year or two ago about how she had to step back from her tours. I mean, the interesting thing is she had symptoms, I believe, back in 2008. And for her to still function and perform and commit to her fans, just admirable. Heroic, as far as I'm concerned. Unfortunately, it got to her. And so she, on an interview with NBC News, said she was prescribed Valium to be able to control these spasms and control some of the symptoms of this autoimmune neurological disorder, which we've spoken about on the show, and I'll recap on that. And so, actually, Celine's Story aired Tuesday night. So I believe on NBC. So we'll get more excerpts from that. But she said that they tried a lot of things. Trying a lot of things when you don't know what you have can kill you. She said, I did not know, honestly, that the Valium could kill her. She said 90 milligrams of Valium could kill you. You can stop breathing. And at one point, the thing is that my body got used to it at 20, 30, 40 milligrams until it went up. And I needed that. It was relaxing my whole body. And so she, even though her symptoms started in 2008, she started to, during the pandemic, cut back because she knew that she was hitting a level that wasn't sustainable. And so her symptoms did get worse. Then she announced her stiff person syndrome publicly in December of 2022 and has still been having treatments. She has been able to make some public appearances, but the stiff person syndrome is very rare. It's we don't know all the intricacies of it, but we think what happens is your autoimmune system attacks your nervous system, and this could result in pain, weakness, spasms. And so, there's a variety of different theories on what we could use to treat it, whether it's steroids, whether it's physical therapy, whether it's muscle relaxers. But the big problem we have is the chronicity of it. You can't be on steroids long term. You can't be on muscle relaxants long term. If you don't maintain the amount of physical therapy and occupational therapy you need, you start getting muscle atrophy. And, many of us had looked at, Celine Dion prior to this going, we knew something was up. She didn't look healthy. And we knew she was suffering, but I don't even know if the doctors had an official diagnosis for this. Life expectancy is estimated anywhere between 6 and 28 years. No known cure. So we use medications to modulate the immune system. And benzodiazepines might be a short-term tool, not supposed to be used long term. But unfortunately, she had something very rare, very new, very debilitating, as you could see. And these benzodiazepines are very, very easy to get used to, tolerant to, dependent on. And so benzodiazepine withdrawal can kill you. Unlike narcotic withdrawal, benzodiazepine withdrawal is a lot more deadly, where you could seize, go into a coma, and die. So if somebody is on Valium chronically, Klonopin, Xanax, any of these medications that end in am, like alprazolam, diazepam, clonazepam, you have to taper it. If a doctor says, I'm not giving you anymore, I am cutting you off, that person can cease. These medications are also extremely sedating. I believe years ago in Southern Nevada, there was a woman who took her Xanax, for the prescription was written every 8 hours, PRN anxiety, and she sadly, I think, jumped a curb and killed 3 kids at a bus stop. These are sedatives, and they are very, very strong sedatives. And Valium can come in 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams, Xanax at 0.25, 0.51, 2. And so people will think, well, Xanax is only 2 milligrams, so it's way less than Valium. It's like apples and oranges. A 2 milligram Xanax is pretty damn sedating and pretty addictive. And so I think we need to have an honest conversation about what is in our medicine cabinet and what people are using. Now, I think the number one reason people are using these medications are for sleep. We have an insomnia epidemic. People can't sleep, and they notice they get an amazing night's sleep on benzodiazepines. It relaxes their muscle, it relaxes their mind. And so it is one of the, from a patient standpoint, preferred sleep aid. From a doctor standpoint, no. We do not want you using benzodiazepines for sleep chronically. You'll get addicted to them. You'll get dependent on them. After a while, you'll need higher and higher doses. So if you are on benzodiazepines and you're on them regularly, please talk to your medical provider. God bless Celine Dion about being open about what she's been struggling with, and I hope they can eventually find a cure or an easier treatment, and we appreciate her talking about that. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Let's see, if something costs less, but people are happier with it, that sounds like something to look into, and that's MediShare. Maybe you've heard switching to MediShare to pay for healthcare can save the typical family $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true that people are way more satisfied after making the switch, too. The customer satisfaction rate for MediShare is double that of the typical health insurance plan. Double. MediShare works. It's been around for more than a quarter century, and members have shared more than $3 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care. So if you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan you're happy with, you can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. 855-SHARE-40. That's 855-SHARE-40. 855-SHARE-40.
Hey guys, it's Dr. Daliah. Fantasy football season is coming, but sadly, too many of you are taking the bench while the country takes part in one of the most exciting and lucrative industries out there. Don't know how to play? Well, huddle up and listen. Paul Kalikas and I have written a fantasy football pocket guide for beginners. This book walks you through the basics and shows you how simple and lucrative joining or creating a fantasy football team can be. Read our Fantasy Football Pocket Guide for Beginners found on Amazon, or follow the links on X and Facebook. That's Fantasy Football Pocket Guides for Beginners. Don't be left out.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to TotalWellness.com. Supplements made for physicians, only now available to you too. TotalWellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Dali, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen, and big thanks to Daniel, our producer. So one of the biggest headlines today is 6 suspected terrorists with ISIS ties were arrested in a sting operation in New York, Los Angeles, and Philadelphia, according to sources, and this is being reported by New York Post. Thank God this got found. And it was a sting operation. So well done to the authorities for being on top of it. Big critique against our current president and how we're managing the border to begin with, because these quote unquote suspected terrorists should have never gotten into the country. But the New York Post says that 6 Russian nationals suspected to have terror ties to ISIS have been arrested in a coordinated sting operation that involved Los Angeles, New York, and Philly. 2 ICE sources confirmed to the Post that they arrested 6 people who come from Tajikistan. And this happened over the last week. 2 others were a part of the same group, were also arrested after being under surveillance for several months by a multi-agency joint terrorism task force. Part of the investigation featured a wiretap, which revealed one of the now arrested individuals talking about bombs. They said, quote, "Remember the Boston Marathon bombing? I'm afraid something like that might happen again or worse." Oh, that's according to one of the sources. The target, who was subject to the wiretap, was previously released by federal authorities at the southern border, was given a court date next year. Since then, though, it has emerged that they had potential ties to ISIS. In a joint statement, the Department of Homeland Security and FBI told the New York Post over the last few days, ICE agents arrested several non-citizens pursuant to immigration authorities. The actions were carried out in close coordination with the FBI's joint terrorism task forces. The individuals arrested are detained in ICE custody pending removal proceedings. The FBI and DHS will continue working around the clock with our partners to identify, investigate, and disrupt potential threats to national security. Well, I have an idea for you guys. If you want to make your job easier, can you maybe limit them coming into the country to begin with? It's very nice to know that you have a pitcher available to help deal with the flooding faucet. But it would be really nice if somebody clamped down on the faucet. That's just, I understand I am no national security expert, but that's my 2 cents. They said the targets had all crossed the southern border, and initial vetting by federal authorities. And this initial vetting, I am dying to see what thorough process that was, did not turn up any negative information tied to their names. What is your name? Bob Smith. Oh, Bob Smith. Yeah, Bob Smith. All right, Bob Smith, you look good. Here's your court date. I mean, you know, of course, they're going to be using aliases. They may not have their papers. They said at least 2 of the men had crossed into the U.S. in the spring of 2023. One had used Customs Border Patrol One app, the CBP One app, to enter. So the arrests come after warnings from FBI Director Christopher Wray about possible ISIS terror plots being staged on U.S. soil and the group's potential for exploiting the southern border. In April, Christopher Wray warned lawmakers that a possible coordinated attack could take place in the U.S. following an ISIS-K attack on a concert hall in Moscow that was carried out by citizens of Tajikistan. It killed 145 people, wounded hundreds more. So he told the House Appropriations Committee that the most immediate concern has been that individuals or small groups will draw twisted inspiration from the events of the Middle East to carry out attacks at home. Why did we let them in to begin with? They said, but now increasing concern is the potential for a coordinated attack here in the homeland, akin to the ISIS-K attack we saw at the Russia concert hall a couple weeks ago. That was a horrific attack. I am glad that somebody is acknowledging that attack and how devastating that was. But are we also forgetting September 11th? Are we forgetting the Boston Marathon? Are we forgetting some of the other horrific attacks? It's almost like everybody forgets. And then there has to be something in the news for them to wake up again going, oh, you know what? Oh, that could be us. I still remember September 11th. those images are forever scarred in my brain. Why are people forgetting? ISIS-K, according to New York Post, stands for Islamic State Khorasan, referencing a region which includes parts of Iran, Turkmenistan, and Afghanistan. It is an offshoot of the Islamic State militant group founded in 2014. Now, they say the group has previously concentrated their efforts on Russia. Multiple Western leaders have warned that, yes, they could commit attacks in Europe and America. So, I don't know what we have to do as Americans to wake the Biden administration up, but this is scary. And it hurts our immigration process. As an American and as a first-generation American, as my father had immigrated here, I am a huge fan of us having legal immigration and a place where refugees could come, feel safe, find the American dream, and become productive and contributing American citizens like my family was. But what we have right now is a complete cluster and a seventh. And this is not something that is sustainable. And the loss of any life, right, that has ever been endured under the attack from a migrant or from a terrorist should have immediately caused clamp down measures and a much thorough vetting process. And we've had our citizens raped, murdered by criminals coming across our border. And I know it sounds like a broken record, but what does Biden need? He says he needs funding, please. He reversed the executive orders from Trump. He could immediately reinstate them. He doesn't want to. This is on him. And what I'm really concerned about is these individuals that infiltrated. It took years to plan the World Trade Center bombings. The one in 93, the one in 2001, which means many of these individuals might wait for Trump to become president again. They're already here. And then, God forbid, there's going to be an attack. And the first thing everybody's going to say is, well, it's not the border. No, we need to blast all over the place, who it was, who was responsible for the vetting. I'm not talking about the particular agent. God bless our agents and everything they're doing. But their hands are tied. And if they, if they're having these single individuals come over, or they may be claiming they're with a family that's not theirs just so they could be wolves in sheep's clothing, we have to do a much better vetting process, and we have to start limiting the numbers that are coming in. We're overwhelmed. If a hospital is overwhelmed by the numbers and they have to divert, right, it's a common protocol in our industry. If you're overwhelmed, we don't want there to be any harm. So divert new patients so you could take care of who you have. Are we doing any diversion? No. We're like, you know what? Just come in. Don't forget to vote. Here's your Biden shirt, and just show up in a year or two to court. Well, no, that's not sustainable. And so seeing the number of migrants, and I want us to, again, be open to those migrants who need to be here, who are fleeing horrific, crime and horrific conditions where they're from. But no. And that every country who wants to do us in is taking advantage of the situation. And, so this, I don't know how many more signs. I don't know what we need. And when I see people say, I think Steven Spielberg, we're being told that Steven Spielberg is going to help Biden with some of his rhetoric really? Now, listen, I get some of you might not like Trump. This is your right. This is your American free right to like a political party or not. It is your free right. It is, and I will acknowledge it and I will defend it. But our safety is at risk. And we have a president not doing his job. This is frightening. And we don't wait until the murder or the attack happens. And if our authorities are saying they're overwhelmed, we have to listen. Our hospitals are overwhelmed. Our border towns, our medical centers are overwhelmed. Our doctors or nurses are overwhelmed. Who's listening? Nobody is listening. Nobody gives a heart and hoot. This is ridiculous. They say Mohammed Karwin, 48 years old, illegally entered the U.S. near San Isidro, California in March 2023, was freed into the U.S. It wasn't until a year later that the FBI notified ICE that he was a suspected member of Hezb-e-Islami. He was rearrested and now is in federal custody. We need to work faster than this. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So Oprah Winfrey, I'm a huge fan of, has been hospitalized. We understand she is recovering after having a very, very severe stomach virus. We have a quote from her team. Apparently she's 70 years old, had been hospitalized, and that it was a quote unquote stomach thing, stomach flu, unquote, quote, stuff was coming out of both ends. And the television personality said, I won't get too graphic. Needless to say, she ended up in the hospital, dehydration, had to get an IV. Oh, this is according to Gayle King. And Oprah Winfrey being 70 years old, she doesn't look 70. She looks fantastic. But I am seeing a lot of stomach flu, maybe misdiagnosed as stomach flu. I'm seeing a lot of individuals who are having severe dehydration. And I think there's some things that many of us do thinking we're helping that could be making the situation worse. So for now, Oprah Winfrey is recovering. She was hospitalized, as she should have been if it was that severe, where she couldn't control the fluids and being able to maintain her fluid status, getting IV fluids until this can resolve. So what is going on now in terms of across the country? So this norovirus is one of the viruses. Also, these strains of COVID can also cause diarrhea and vomiting. And your vomiting and diarrhea is a defense mechanism, right? It's something we have to respect and appreciate and understand why it's happening in order for us to then handle it. So if you have a virus that is in your system and your body understands that to be a pathogen, doesn't want it there, thinks that it is going to cause harm, your body is going to want to get rid of it. Let's say you picked up a worm. Let's say you picked up a parasite. Don't you want your body to flush it out? Well, the big mistake people immediately make is day one, they hit the antidiarrheals. They go, look, I got a date tonight. I have to go to work. I don't have time to go to the bathroom. So I need to clench it all in, hold it in so I could stop having diarrhea and then it'll go away. Okay, I'm sorry. If you pick up something bad, please let your body get it the hell out day one. Let your body do that. In medical school, we learned that for every day you use these antidiarrheals or these medicines to try to hold it in, you could actually prolong the illness by that same time. Now, I'm only talking about day one. We do not want you getting severely dehydrated. I will recommend antidiarrheals, anti-nausea medication if I think you're becoming dehydrated. But a big mistake people do is they try to hold it in. I had the stomach bug. I was supposed to go on a work trip. Trust me, there was every incentive in the world for me to take whatever medication I could. And I tried to not throw up. And I was like, you know what? Just do it. Just do it. And I told you guys, you gotta, if you feel like you have to throw up, you have to get it out. The reason why you have that sensation is because your body is trying to do what it knows how to do. Now, whether it's norovirus, whether it's COVID, whether it's food poisoning, whether it's E. coli, salmonella, a parasite, mold, you might not know. And sometimes the symptoms could be very similar. And so if you have a toxin, let's say you got food poisoning and you picked up a toxin in your body and you want to vomit it out, diarrhea it out. So day one, you need to try to maintain your fluids. You need to also try to control some of the symptoms in terms of spread, in terms of we don't want you to rupture anything. We don't want you to, but if you are initially trying to dump, notify a medical provider, have a plan on where to go and what to do if it doesn't resolve, and try to keep taking in fluids. A big mistake many of us do because we're so thirsty, and I got to tell you, I was so thirsty when I had the stomach flu, is we just guzzle as much water as possible. You have to sip it, maybe suck on ice, suck on a popsicle, but you have to trick your body into absorbing the fluid without necessarily triggering another reflex. The reason why your body is going to throw up when you drink so heavily is because your body is still thinking it's in cleansing mode, and in fact is trying to use those fluids to help it throw up. If the body senses that pathogen or that poisoning is still there, your body's going to be like, good, okay, we got some extra fluid coming down the pike. We can now go ahead and throw up some more. So if you're trying to hydrate, yes, you are going to have to kind of fool your body, which is why ice chips, sucking on popsicles, and you're going to have to replace your salts. I got so achy because I lost so much salt in terms of your throwing up. And so Pedialyte, Gatorade, those are the things you're going to need to do. You might feel better. And when you feel better, you might be very, very hungry. And you might want to hit the Rubios before they all close down and go under, as apparently they are filing for bankruptcy in California. And I'm a big Rubios fan. No, you have to be careful in terms of the food you're going to start to take. You're eating when you have a severe stomach bug or stomach flu or a vomiting and diarrhea episode is not for taste, it's not for pleasure. It's for you to try to introduce some very well needed nutrients. We say bananas, rice, applesauce, toast. Bananas could give you the potassium, could give you some sugar. Rice could give you a little bit of bulk, give you some carbs. Applesauce, toast. These are things that are light, less caustic to the stomach. Remember, you're very inflamed. You have a lot of acid, now abrasions along your esophagus, stomach, etc., from the vomiting, the mouth. And we want you to be able to take in some sustenance and make sure it stays down and it holds. So just because you're hungry and you have an appetite for a spicy burrito doesn't mean you should go for that. Even if you're feeling fine, that first 24 hours, you should still be eating a brat diet, a very mild diet. Now, another big mistake people make is they misdiagnose themselves with the stomach flu. I've seen people have semaglutide, Ozempic, Wegovy, Mounjaro side effects. And like, I got a stomach flu, and I go, why? Well, I'm having severe nausea. Any fever? No. Any diarrhea? No. But I'm just so nauseous. When was your last Ozempic dose? Well, I went up 2 days ago. Well, yeah, and then I had a fatty meal. So you might be misconstruing a side effect of something. If you are having severe nausea, that could be a heart issue. That could be a gallbladder issue. That could be an ulcer. Nausea can manifest in a variety of ways. It doesn't always have to be GI. If you are having severe abdominal cramps, I had somebody call up saying, I have the most horrible abdominal cramps. It's the worst stomach flu ever. And I go, how many times have you had diarrhea? They go, I haven't had any diarrhea, but I am having horrible stomach pain. Okay, is it right side or left? It's lower right. Okay, that might be your appendix. I know you're trying to diagnose yourself with stomach flu, and I appreciate you using Dr. Google. Educating yourself is always a plus, but I think you're misdiagnosing this. This might be appendicitis. So always, always, always get a medical provider involved and talk to them. And don't bias them over the phone. I know on telemedicine, if you say, hi, I got the stomach flu, they'll be like, here's your work note, here's your Zofran for nausea, see ya. Don't say that. Tell us what your symptoms are. If you have severe nausea and you're 50 or 60 years old and you feel dizzy and weak, that could be heart. Just be dead honest about what your symptoms are and get yourself seen. If you don't think you're going to get the right diagnosis over the phone, don't go over the phone. Get yourself to an urgent care or ER. IV fluids will help you feel better. IV fluids are used because you can't vomit them up that easily. It's a way for us to hydrate you. And I can't tell you how many people said, I wish I went in for my IV fluids sooner because I had been struggling for days. If you find yourself struggling, even if it's day one, get your butt into an urgent care or ER so you could get the IV fluids. Within the IV fluids, they could also put the nausea medicine. Even though Zofran is a nausea medicine that you can put under the tongue and dissolve and try to absorb, which it works fascinatingly, you can't mix that with a lot of your medications, and for some of you, you could still throw it up. So when we do provide you IV fluids, we can put the medication in the bag. We can put the salts in the bag. Think about that. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, don't go away.
Considered by most, optimized curcumin is one of the few bioavailable and highly absorbable curcumin products on the market. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. Since most chronic diseases have inflammation, our optimized curcumin seems to be a perfect addition to any nutritional program. It makes sense to me that preventing or reducing inflammation is a key component to our overall health. The Mayo Clinic found that curcumin can decrease swelling and inflammation, has antioxidant properties, and research suggests that curcumin can prevent cancer, or at least slow the spread of cancer, and in many instances make chemotherapy more effective. It protects our healthy cells even from radiation. TotalWellness.com, where we help you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So summertime is vacation time, but it's also fraud time. And we are hearing more and more that people are getting scammed, either with their Airbnb or VRBO or their rental, or this was an interesting scam, and it's devastating. But there was a family who got scammed out of a $106,000 vacation. This is being reported by the New York Post, where 35 members of Nicole Vriss's family were going to travel to Greece, meet up with friends and family, and they had paid Travel World Sydney $106,000 for their flights, accommodations. And then Miss Friss or Nicole found that the documentation appeared fake. They called the, I think Emirates, the airline. They asked for numbers that were on the itinerary. They said those numbers didn't exist and they were never in the system. Rule number 1, anytime you are going to book and you get some sort of a confirmation number, go immediately to the airline site and see if your confirmation number shows that you have a seat, that you were on that flight. You have to. After being told of the itineraries that Nicole had received on behalf of the large travel group were fake, she quickly approached the director of Travel World Sydney, for which she claimed she was given empty answers and then ignored entirely. So now they are out $106,000, no plane, no accommodation tickets for their dream holiday. And so, I am very frustrated when these things happen. And I fall for these non-traditional booking sites because I want to save money too. There is nothing more euphoric or addictive that really gets your dopamine going than you seeing what a plane ticket costs on the airline website and being able to get it cheaper on another website. You feel like you got the biggest break of your life. Do you know what that other website is? Are you sure that other website you could trust? Now, I book a lot on Orbitz. I trust Orbitz. But oftentimes, if I'm booking on Orbitz, I still go straight to JetBlue or Southwest or United or whoever I'm booking with to see if I'm really getting that much of a deal. And you need to be careful. Now, with these Airbnbs and these rental properties, apparently there's a lot of scams. New York Post is talking about those as well, where there was a United Kingdom family who lost $5,000 over a phony stay. People are booking places, and then now what happened to us is when we were in Israel last year, we booked a rental through Orbitz. Had the confirmation. Orbitz was fine. Orbitz was fantastic. We go there. We have our suitcases. I wasn't really excited about being there. It was part of my husband and his family's itinerary, and I really wanted to go to Tiberias and the Sea of Galilee. We were nearby, but we stayed in, I don't know if it was Svet or Svat or one of these towns. And it was a nice town, but we were going to have to walk about a mile to get there because there was no parking. It was just a mess. But when my husband called the owner to get our keys, he said, no reservation. My husband's like, say what? They said, no reservation. No, you're not supposed to be here. And we had the Orbitz confirmation. We had everything. Well, I immediately looked at my friend's Facebook because it was opposite hours, so they were asleep. And I saw where she stayed in Tiberias and Sea of Galilee. It was only a half hour away. So I was able to book a hotel within minutes, be able to take the family there. Orbitz refunded the money. They were really, really cool, even gave us a voucher for what happened. But you cannot be in a foreign country with your suitcases standing there in the middle of the street, waiting to go into your room, knowing that it's not there, which means always, always get in touch with the owners and reconfirm that it's kosher. Stefan Hoffelner, owner of rental company Your Air Host, says it's easy to figure out if a property or a host are fake. There are 4 dead giveaways. So one is you don't really see authentic posting. The host profile doesn't really seem to be, the feedback looks like something their mother could have written, or there's a lack of reviews, or they just seem to be overly positive. Some of the real good reviews are, look, it was reasonably priced. It was reasonably clean. I would have liked a better view, but the host was nice. Okay, that doesn't sound like a fake, review. Although, honestly, these scammers probably know how to do more realistically sounding reviews. But if it sounds like their mother wrote the review, don't go. Research photos. They said many times the pictures of the property could look filtered, etc. So do a image search, a reverse image search, and see if these images showed up on other, you have a Google Lens where you could look up an image to see where else it was used. And if it looks like it was used at another place, that's already a huge red flag. If you cannot communicate with the host, you should be very easily able to, talk to the host. They should be very happy that you're contacting them, as long as it's a reasonable time, because you're paying the money. Say, look, I'm excited. Not to mention, you could also give good feedback. So look, I'm going to be coming. I just want to make sure, is there anything we need to know so we don't bother you? And if there's shady responses or something doesn't sound right, that could be a red flag. And then also be very careful about, these things look like they're mansions. I've seen some of the pictures where it looks like you're getting an absolute mansion for $400 a night. Really? Are you taking a picture of the lobby? Are you taking a picture of the house across the street? They know that once you're there, you're stuck. Always have a backup plan. For those of you traveling, always have plan B. Because if you do go and you don't have, I always double check my reservation. I don't care if you're going to Disney World. Say, look, I'm flying in. I want to make sure you have us down. You do have us down. Here's my confirmation number. Great. We're going. You just always have just back up and then know where you could go, what motel you could stay in, etc., just in case, because things happen. It happened to me. It could happen to you. And it could be very, very scary if you're in a foreign place and you've already spent all your money. You've maxed your credit card. And now you have to find another place at high price. Florida, dealing with storms. We're going to be coming into hurricane season. Going to be a lot harder for you to find a alternative place if your Airbnb doesn't work out. And this isn't about Airbnb. It's just any of these rental properties. Scammers are everywhere. We know these scammers are everywhere. And it's sickening. And so, I love the idea of Airbnbs because you could bring the whole family. You could split with families. It gives you a chance to have your own place. Also be aware of cameras. Many of these owners are sick and tired of people stealing or damaging things, so the cameras provide them proof and evidence, but they could also hurt your privacy. And we spoke about that. So when they say video surveillance, okay, is it surveillance in the bedroom? Is it surveillance in the bathroom? They shouldn't be doing that, but keep in mind that you could be filmed. And so it could happen in hotels also. So be aware. Check the alarm clock. If you shine a light on the alarm clock, you could sometimes see a camera in those. I turn the alarm clocks towards the wall. And it's not so much because I want privacy, whoever's looking, I really can't do that to them. Seeing me in my underwear is not the best sight. So I'm also trying to save their eyes. I still, as a doctor, I even want to protect the scammers. But keep in mind that there can be issue there. They need to protect their property, and they might do so by having cameras. Vacation time, I think, is very stressful. Many of you do not look forward to going on vacation. You are so stressed. I'm going to be going to Nashville in a couple weeks. My flight is at 5:15, which means I have to wake up probably at 3 to make sure I get to the airport in time. Actually, probably 2:30. Not looking forward to that. By the time everything is said and done, it starts to make you want to not go. Listen, still take the trip, still enjoy yourself, just be careful. The 1-877-DOC-DALIAH.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch, and nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.